Okay, what if I told you that you could physically, literally rewire your own brain using wisdom that's thousands of years old? Well, that's exactly what we're diving into today. This incredible connection between ancient spiritual practices and the very modern science of neuroplasticity. And trust me, this link is way more powerful and practical than you might think. Does this sound familiar? You're just constantly bombarded by notifications, distractions, endless stress. Trying to find a moment of mental clarity feels like an uphill battle, right? It's so easy to get caught in this cycle of just reacting to everything flying at you. But here's the thing. Your brain has a secret weapon, a built-in superpower to fight back against all that chaos. It's this innate ability not just to cope, but to actually reshape itself for the better. So let's talk about this power. Think of it as your brain's very own built-in upgrade system. Now, this superpower has a fancy scientific name, neuroplasticity. But all it really means is that your brain isn't fixed in place. It's not like concrete. It's more like clay. It's adaptable, it's changeable, and it's constantly reorganizing itself based on what you think, what you do, and what you focus on. And this idea is a total game changer. For the longest time, science believed that once you hit adulthood, your brain was pretty much set in stone. That's it. You're done. But we now know that is completely fundamentally wrong. Your brain can keep learning, adapting, and even evolving for your entire life. To make this super simple, let's use an analogy that I love. Just think of your brain as a garden. Seriously, the thoughts you choose to focus on, well, those are the seeds and the water you're giving that garden every single day. So here's how it plays out. When you get stuck in those negative thought loops, the worry, the stress, the anxiety, you're basically letting weeds grow all over your garden. But when you intentionally shift your focus to something positive, something uplifting, you're planting and watering new seeds. And just like any garden, the more you tend to those positive pathways, the stronger they grow, until they actually start to crowd out the weeds. So the big question is, how do we start watering those good seeds? This is where things get really fascinating, where modern science and ancient wisdom just beautifully come together. For thousands of years, spiritual texts have basically been handing us a manual for how to do this. I mean, listen to this. Thousands of years ago, this idea was already being talked about. This quote isn't just some nice, poetic sentiment. If you think about it, it's a shockingly accurate description of what we now call neuroplasticity. See, the act of renewing your mind through focused, intentional reflection, that's not just a spiritual concept. It is a practical, honest-to-goodness blueprint for creating real, physical, healthier pathways in your brain. It's like ancient wisdom was giving us the how-to guide, and science is only now building the tools to measure it. So what's actually going on in your head when you do this? Well, this kind of deep reflection is very similar to mindfulness practices that have been studied for years. It fires up the parts of your brain that handle focus and emotional control, and at the same time, it quiets down the regions that are always on high alert for anxiety and stress. You're literally rebalancing your brain's chemistry. Okay, so the theory sounds amazing, but what about the results? Can you actually measure these changes? Is this real? The answer is a huge, resounding yes. Let's look at the data. First off, what kind of time are we talking about? This is the most encouraging part. Studies show that real, meaningful changes can start with as little as 12 minutes a day. 12. Just think about that. That's probably less time than you spent scrolling through your phone this morning. And how long till you can actually see results? Well, in one major study, they saw measurable physical changes in the brain's structure in just 8 weeks. This isn't some 30-year quest. This is a trainable skill that can start paying off in less than 2 months. And here's the proof. A landmark Harvard study on mindfulness found that after only 8 weeks, the amygdala, that's the brain's alarm system, the fear and stress center, it actually shrank. And at the exact same time, the prefrontal cortex, your center for focus and decision-making, it grew thicker. You are physically changing the architecture of your brain. It's incredible. And those physical changes in the brain, they lead to this incredible cascade of benefits in your actual life. We're talking about less stress, lower cortisol levels, a sharper focus, and the power to finally break free from those nagging negative thought patterns. Plus, you're building what's called cognitive reserve, which is kind of like a retirement fund for your brain's long-term health. All right, this all sounds great, but how do you actually put it into practice? Let's get practical and build your transformation toolkit right now. Starting this is way simpler than you think. First, just find 10 or 15 minutes. The quiet parts of the day, like early morning or late evening, often work best. Next, just engage with a passage somehow. Read it, journal about it, maybe even memorize one verse that really hits you. And finally, just track that you did it. Seeing your consistency helps reinforce that new habit and gives your brain a little pat on the back. And here's a cool thought. Even though this is an ancient practice, you can actually use a little bit of modern tech to support the whole process and maybe even supercharge your results. For instance, there are apps out there like Mindsavi that are designed for exactly this. They can give you daily positive ideas, let you save content that inspires you, and even connect you with other people on the same journey. All of these things just help to reinforce those positive neuroplastic changes that you're working so hard to build. In the end, it all comes back to this one powerful piece of advice. This isn't just a moral suggestion, it is a direct instruction manual for practicing neuroplasticity. The core exercise is to deliberately, consciously, direct your attention to things that are good and uplifting. So I'll leave you with this one question. Now that you know that your thoughts can physically change your brain, what positive pathways are you going to choose to build today? What seeds are you going to start watering in your own garden, starting right now?